Well, if you're a Kansas City radio fan in this town, and you have been for a while, our featured Friday guest needs no introduction. Max Floyd is here on KCMO. Max, good morning. How are you?
Good morning to you, Pete. I was thinking about you yesterday. Not in a romantic way.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're getting weird here. Okay.
But can I say something before we get started here?
Yes, please.
You really impressed me. I was at a speech you gave about a week ago, and you were just magnificent. I mean, you know everything about everything, and I was listening to you this morning, and I'm thinking, that guy is really, really good. I don't listen to the radio that much anymore, and I haven't listened to talk radio for a long time. Ever since Rush died, I think I haven't really heard it. But you, man, I'd listen to you every morning.
Thank you very much for that. That means the world to me, Max. Now you've blown some smoke up my ass, which I appreciate.
If you know me, you know I don't do that.
I know you don't, and I should be blowing it up yours because, if I can have half the career you had, I'll be doing okay.
Well, you're on your way, man. I tell you that. I think I can ask this without. I say this without any problem. I asked you in that in question and answer the other day if you would leave for Los Angeles, New York, or Chicago, and you said L.A. never, New York no, Chicago no. And I thought, okay, well, that's the three big ones.
Well, I think I said, if I can correct something there,
okay.
I said L.A. never,
yeah.
Chicago, the weather's terrible.
Yeah.
New York, I still have a lot of family there in the right circumstance. But likely not. Likely not. And the most important thing, you're right. We're loving Kansas City.
Well, you get your head cut off in New York. That's the only thing. And
yes.
you worked there.
Oh, yeah, no, worked there, lived there. Listen, it's gone to hell in a handbasket anyway.
Listen, when I went to Chicago, the first thing the manager said to me was, keep your pockets full because you got to pay off the cops on anything you want to do. It's the first thing he said, I swear to you, when I went into the I was program director of the Loop, and I went into the manager's office, and that's the first thing he said, just be careful. So it was just, those big city jobs are great, and I love them, but boy, they get on your nerves.
Well, here's the thing, and I think, a lot of people in this business, as you know, they work their way up through the markets, right, where you get to, the goal is to get to that big market. But having done it, there's people I worked with in New York on the air who I wouldn't hire in Kansas City. Yeah. There's a lot of crap in these big markets, too.
I agree. I always thought Top 40 radio in Dallas sounded better than New York. I don't know why, and they had the big guys there. I loved all the guys that were on the air, but for some reason, but I think Frank Bowl, who is a newscaster here, was on Channel 4 for a long time, does a podcast, and the title of it he got from Bobby Bell, I think, the classic Kansas City chief, because Bobby Bell can live anywhere, but he lives here, and I can live anywhere, I guess, and I live here. And the title of his podcast is There's Something About Kansas City.
Yes.
And it just is. It's manageable. It's great. I love the people, and I don't know what it is about it, but I love it.
I've always said you've got all the big city stuff without the big city BS for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, some people are trying to make the big city BS come here, but that's a story for another day. Take me through, I want to talk about a lot with Max Floyd here, but Slacker passing away this week. You were longtime friends with him. You really gave him his break. Is that the backstory?
I didn't really give him his break. I was there when he peeked in the window over on Signal Hill back in 92 or something, and he was on first with Marty Wall. And he was like the intern, did some character, and that's where they got the name Slacker. And he was able to do some characters and stuff like that. And then he just sort of worked his way up. We worked together. He produced the Max Tanner Moffat show in the 2000s, I guess, or somewhere like that. And he also worked by himself and also with Doug. But we worked together some in the afternoon in the 90s, and we just knew each other. We just clicked. He's one of the greatest audiences in the world. Slacker's going to laugh at anything, whether it's funny or not. Slacker laugh. Yeah, okay. So it was. I just love the guy. I'd come over here to do Cars for Heroes on 101, and he just, I don't know, it's just something about it. We liked each other. We could finish each other's sentences. It's just, he knew everything I knew, and he was just great. He used to tell me that, and I don't remember this, but I used to do mornings on KY for a long time, and I'd come in on Monday morning, and he would have done the Sunday night show, and he said I wouldn't talk to him. I wouldn't say anything to him. And I said, I don't remember that, Slacker. He said, no, you wouldn't say a word to me, and I'd try to talk to you, and you just kind of go off. And I'm prone to doing that sometime, but I'm much more mellow now, so I don't do that stuff anymore.
Well, that's what John Anthony says every day as well. He's much more mellow than he used to be. What is your memory of Slacker when you said, hey, this guy, and he turned out to be obviously a big radio star in this town. Was there a moment or something that he had that made him special in this community and made him work?
I knew that with his communication skills, he knew everybody. He loved everybody, and he worked it. He had to supplement his income with remotes and appearances, and he did that to the nth degree. And he just worked it. He made his way, and I knew he was a talented guy, great voice, and just had that knack. Now, he didn't come over to the Fox and try to do a comedy show like Max Tanner-Moffat or any of that stuff that really doesn't work anymore as far as I'm concerned. He did that. I'm Slacker. I'm playing your music, and I'm going to say something funny every once in a while, and I'm the facilitator, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to know every one of you, and I'm going to talk to you. And that's the way he made himself an icon of this community.
Yeah. And when you think back on your days working with him, what would he ask you about? Would he ask you? I mean, I know you apparently didn't talk to him in the hallways, but once you guys built the rapport, what would he reach out to you and talk to you about and ask you about?
He didn't. The only thing he ever said to me about that, I don't know if he ever asked my advice. He always said, I stole everything I knew from you, and I filed a lawsuit against him because I figured he stole my act, so I would never do that. But no, I think he learned so much from listening to all of us. He grew up listening to KY102, and he also listened to the morning show, and he was right there with us. And he got a chance to do characters, and he got a chance to do all that stuff. But, all that working, all that Slacker largesse, that was Slacker. I mean, he was just that kind of guy.
Yeah, he was. Max Floyd is here in the studios, needs no introduction in this town. What about the last few months? We knew that he was in bad shape. We knew he was going to die these last few weeks. I wrote, and I talked about it the other day, I was amazed at how he kept his spirits up. And I'll never forget how positive this guy stayed, knowing he was leaving behind a wife, a teenage daughter. His approach to death was something I've never seen. What did you make of it?
Well, I always thought he was still scared, and maybe he was, but he was a very spiritual man, which our time together before that had not been necessarily that. We were just like two radio buddies, and we were very close and all that stuff, as I've explained. But he talked to me out of the park, and they were worried about me because I'd lost my wife 2 years ago, and they were worried about telling me about it because they knew it was going to be horrible for me. And Slacker took me out of the parking lot and told me about it almost a year ago, that what he had, and I'm going to die, Max. And I thought, oh, man. So somehow when he went to the hospital in those dark days at KU, this spiritual side of him really, and maybe it was there all the time, really began to rear. And I gave him a little rock, which my wife had said hope on it. He kept it by his bedside all the time, and he just seemed to have the knowledge that maybe it would work. Maybe the stem cell stuff would work, but maybe not. Mm-hmm. So he kept that in mind, never got too enthused about it, and it didn't work. And when he called me and said, Max, it's not working, it's not going to work, and I said, oh, man, that's terrible. So we had some tears, and he asked me to speak at his celebration, and he said, but he wanted me to do some humorous stuff. He said, I know it's going to be hard, but can you do something amidst all the tears? I said, okay, yeah, I'll do what I can. But it's really sad, and I feel bad about it. I think a lot of people feel bad about it, and I try to. When he was in his darkest days, like I mentioned at KU, undergoing the chemo and all that stuff, I texted him every day a little amusing thing that I would find, and I thought I'd make him laugh, and he never responded. 30 days I did that. And I found out after that I was sending it to the wrong number. And he never got it. And I wish I had the material back. I could use it now. It's just lost up there in the ozone somewhere, I swear. I don't know how that happened, but it did, and we laughed about that. But I just, he was my friend. He was my guy. He was my boy. And we loved each other, and we told each other we loved each other. And if men don't do that, that's too bad. That's what we did.
I totally agree. Max Floyd, Kansas City radio legend, needs no introduction in this town. The passing of his good friend, our good friend, Slacker this week made me want to reach out, but also just go down radio lane with you, Max. You know, you grew up in Paris, Texas, right?
Yes. It's the same town that my old buddy, the old Scotsman Gordon McClendon, grew up in. Gordon McClendon was at least, if he's not inventor of Top 40, he's co-inventor with Todd Storrs. McClendon, and I quote him here, he said, "I love radio. I love the name radio. I love everything about it. I love the smell of the studio. I love the smell of the records. I'm so enamored. I'm in love with radio. It's the most intimate of medias. You sit here and you turn your microphone on, and it's just you and you.
Yeah.
It's just, I think I was on the air for 50 years. I think in my 50 years, the happiest I was when I turned that mic on. For some reason, it's just because you go in there and you say, I'm going to turn the mic on. I don't know necessarily what I'm going to say sometimes, but I just talk, and that's how it gets away. You have things you're going to talk about, but still, you just sit there and you talk to that person, and it's radio. Television doesn't roll off quite as well as radio. It's one of the great, it's just you behind that microphone. And if you're all alone or somebody's in the studio with you, it doesn't matter. It's just you and that thing that makes your voice go out there.
And it's so intimate beyond any other medium.
Yeah.
It's you and that one listener.
Yes, that's true.
TV is not like that, and podcasts are pre-recorded. They're not like that. It's just so unique, and it still has its place in media. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
And if you do something that makes you happy, you say, and you turn the mic on, and you're so happy with yourself. You know, think. Maybe nobody else heard it. You heard it in your mind. It's just great.
That's so true. All right, so you take me through, just for people that don't know, the full breadth of your career. I know Kansas City, then what? Go up to Chicago for a little bit, come back. What's the exact timeline on all this?
From Kansas City?
Yes.
Okay, from Kansas City, we became number one. I came here in 74, and it was a perfect storm. It was a great time for music. It was some of the best music ever from the late 60s to the early 70s, and we glammed onto it. We were able to come in and be a part of the community. We're here. We want to be part of you, and we were. It was a lifestyle connection. We just did everything that we thought we should do. We had the great people. We had the right guys. We had everything that was going for us. We did it till about 74 to about 80. Then we became number one. We knocked off KMBZ. We were number one in town with a 12-7, and the consultant said, "You got to go. You got to go to Chicago." It's what we did then.
Yeah.
You got to go to Chicago, New York, L.A., and there's opening in Chicago. And I talked about it for a month. I went to Munich. They called me every day in Munich. Are you going? You're going. And I finally went to Chicago and did the Loop. I programmed the Loop for about a year and a half in WLUP in Chicago, and until we had to fire Steve Dahl. I don't know if people know who Steve Dahl is, but he was a big-time jock in that town. And then I got fired there. And I was going to Columbus to work again for Tap Broadcasting, but and work with Randy Miller. But they got me a job at 96 Rock in Atlanta. I programmed that for about a year and a half, and then, certain things happened. And so I was fired there, and then I was going to Portland, but I didn't. I came back here to do mornings on KY, and that was about 83, and I did mornings on KY from 83 to 2000 until 1997.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then they flip it over to 99.
Flip it over to 99.7, and we did 10 years out of that. So
wow.
I did mornings. I got up at 2:30 all those days, and I never want to get up early again, and thanks for getting me up this morning. I don't want to get up. Come on.
Well, we appreciate you getting up for us. So when you look at how things have changed, I joke about it sometimes on the air, being a talk guy. I feel like the music doesn't have the juice that, a lot of you old school guys gave to it when it came to truly being entertainment with music around it. Now it's music with a couple of one-liners in between. What's happened?
I told you this a minute ago, and we always looked at commercials and quarter hours, and I'm getting a little in the weeds here as far as radio is concerned, but we always looked at that. Well, we don't want to play any more commercials than the competitor and that sort of stuff, but I think what we did was we made sure that we had entertainment. And I gave you a quote a few minutes ago. Some of the really uptight PDs would say, don't talk, music. If we're out of music, we're losing. And as a talent, I would say, if you're not entertaining, you're losing, which is what we tried to do. Those days was different. I mean, you have so many options these days. You have so much competition and all the social media and everything. We didn't have that then. We were able to, and really, when we were big at KY102, they weren't doing so much investigation into the records. We were sort of using our gut to say, and I would play things that you say, well, I don't know if you should play it on KY, but we did and got away with it. So we just used our own gut. We didn't do a lot of research. We did, but not much.
But how much of that was just because the audience trusted you?
They think they did. If it's on KY, I probably should listen to it. We got so big. The kids from Raytown would come down every day when I was blowing up disco records, and you get on top of a truck, and I'd be out there behind, on top of the truck talking to all those kids. The Disco Destruction thing was about 79 to 80, and it just we killed the disco station here, and it was just a wonderful time. And I guess you can never replicate it, but because you can't bring that kind of thing back.
Yeah.
But maybe if you lean more local, maybe you could do something, different. I mean, I know you think that. So
listen, I think there's still a lot of potential for something like that in any market if you're willing to make it work and invest in the right people.
You work hard. You ran down your particular resume, not your resume, but your thing you do when you go on the air, and you work hard. Oh my God, you got everything ready to go the next day and so forth. What we did when we did mornings, we got up in the morning early, at 2:20 or 2:30, and we'd come in and sort of react to the day. We'd have some stuff ready, but you're always ready when you come in, and you got that thing. You never miss a beat. I tell you, I'm impressed with you, man. I really am.
Well, thank you for that, Max. That's real. I really do appreciate that. What would you say right now if Max Floyd could fix anything in the radio industry? What would it be and how? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you've thought about it, so I got to ask you.
I don't think I have too many friends in this building. I can't. I don't think I can answer that. I would do something. I've made a couple of comments to some friends lately, and I shouldn't have done that.
We're just a couple of, like you said, no one's listening. It's just a couple of friends sitting here.
I was talking to you the other day at that thing where you're doing the speech, and I forgot you worked for some of my friends here in this building, and I was making some comments, and so I'm not going to make those comments on the air. No, I don't want to do that.
I was just hoping you'd forget what you said and you'd say it back again today.
No, I'm not going to do that. I think I believe there are things that I could do, but I'm not going to tell you, Pete. I'm sorry.
Oh man, Max Floyd in studio on KCMO. What do you miss the most about doing this every day and doing this every morning?
Not a damn thing.
No, come on now.
Not a thing, man. Every once in a while, I'll hear something on the air, and I'll get a little nostalgic, and I'll say, oh, wow, I could, or I think I'd be a better disc jockey now than I was then because I know more, and I think I would be more dramatic. I would do something. I would do something different. I never did. I always, a friend of mine, Johnny Rabbit out of St. Louis, we worked together in the late 50s at KONO in San Antonio. And he said, I was Johnny Young and he was Ron McKay with different names. But he said, I'm working on my diction. And I said, I'm working on content. And that's what I always worked on. I thought that was, I don't want you ever to know what I'm going to say. And I think you feel the same way on the thing you're doing. I want you to be surprised about everything. And that's what I miss because every once in a while, who just came back on television for one day a week on the
Rachel Maddow, right?
No, the other guy, the guy on the comedy
Oh, Jon Stewart.
Yeah, Jon Stewart came back for one day because he had things he wanted to say.
Yes.
The funniest joke he ever told was Ted Kennedy's head looked like a container for a head. And my God, that's really funny.
Oh, that's great. Hey, Max, thank you for doing this.
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate you asking me. It's an honor, and it was for Slacker, and it's funny. I see the 101 trucks out here, and his picture is all over the building and so forth. And we're going to miss the guy, and it's great to give tribute to him.
Well, we appreciate you, everything you've done in this town, and it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Max Floyd on KCMO Talk Radio.